Hello everyone, my name is Protesilaos, also known as Prot. In this video I want to tour you around my mountain. This will be an early summer tour of my area, of my part of the world. And the idea is for you to see what I am seeing. So I will just switch to the rear camera and adjust it to make it good for this video. And then I will just continue walking, and then I will be talking as well. I don't know what I will be talking about, but we will see. So switching now. And there it is. And let's start. Let's see what we can do. This video will be at least an hour long, maybe much longer, because my plan is to go to the top of this specific mountain. Oh, sorry, by the way, let me adjust the zoom. 0.5. I think this is better because you have a wider field of view. So I will go to the top of this mountain and then tour around it, go around it, and eventually come back home. And this will take me about 3 hours, maybe more. But I won't show you the whole thing, but at least 1 hour should be good. Maybe I can go for 2 hours. It will depend on the battery on my phone. We will see. But one step at a time. A walk. Let's start with the idea of a walk in general. A walk is done at your natural pace. Like, you cannot go faster than what your body is capable of. And thus, a walk grounds you in your actuality. By virtue of walking, nothing else. Just by walking, you understand what your limits are. You understand what is sustainable for you, what you can do for longer, what you can do without overexerting yourself, what you can't do without risking your health. And walking thus has the effect, I think, of making us more relaxed. We are more relaxed because at its core we come to terms with who we are. When we are not aligned with our nature, when we expect something from ourselves which is not how we are, when there is that mismatch between our actual self and our expected or projected self, what happens is that we are dismayed. We are aghast at the fact that we are nowhere near what we would like to be. When we walk, then, we eventually let go of such expectations because we are like, you know what, this is just wishful thinking. This is just not applicable right now. Therefore, I will recalibrate my ideas, my expectations, my wants. I will recalibrate them and align them with my actuality. Now, this is not the same as having no ambition. This is not the same as saying, you know what, this is what I am, therefore I will not try to push the boundaries. No, it is a matter of understanding expectations in terms of their short-term and long-term outlook. In the short term, this is what I can do. In the long term, maybe by continuing to do what I am doing, I will get better at it, and thus the long term will look better, or anyhow different. It may be closer to my ambition. Now, of course, walking can only teach us something about our body, but I think the lesson is more generally applicable, meaning that when we have ideas about anything, it is good to put them to the test. It is good to see what actually works for us. Like, we cannot eliminate the subject from this equation. Having an abstract human in mind who in some decontextualized world will do something doesn't really matter, because you, the subjective you, the actual you in the here and now of your experience, you are not decontextualized, you are not environment-less, you are not history-less. Whatever you are doing it as an expression of factors that contribute to your being. Let's see, by the way, folks, there is a car here. Hopefully I won't disturb anybody, but we keep going. Now, what is today is a working day. Kalimera. Κάνω video. So today is a working day, and I don't have work this morning. I already did what I had to do. I have work in the evening, and now is time to do some exercise, get some fresh air, absorb the harmony of my natural milieu, and relaxed as I will be, focus my vitality on what I am committed to, my work. Back to what I was saying. Because we are not decontextualized, because we are always framed, environed, conditioned, or otherwise determined by factors external to our volition, it is important, whatever idea we have in mind, to test it, to put it out there. Ideas about the world, but also ideas about who we are, who we think we are, who we think we ought to be. And when we are in the mode of putting our ideas to the test, what we are actually doing is discarding ideas that are not helpful for us. Ideas that if we keep entertaining, we will just be miserable because of the disconnect I alluded to earlier, because of that mismatch between the expected and the actual. Here we are going in on a walk in the mountains, and the pace is slow. This slow pace teaches us patience. Like, I am here and I want to go to the top of the mountain, which we cannot even see from this point. I want to go to the top of the mountain, but I cannot just teleport there. No matter how strong my wish is, no matter how I truly believe it, it simply won't happen. For me to go from here to there at the pace I am walking at, it will take, I don't know, an hour maybe. And thus, I have to take it slow, one step at a time. I don't even know if I can make it. Maybe as I walk, I will get tired and be like, you know what, I have to stop. I have to just call it a day and go back home. And so, this slow pace, this slow-paced experience that you are now seeing a snippet of, teaches me patience. It teaches me patience not in some abstract way like, oh, it would be good for you to be patient. No, that does nothing. It teaches it in a way that I can feel in my body. It teaches it in the most visceral of fashions. Like, I know exactly what patience means right now. If I try to go faster, if I try to rush things into being, all that will happen is that I will tire myself out, I will run out of breath, and I will simply have to stop. There is no alternative in that regard. I can hear the birds. I don't know if they are caught on camera. It's beautiful. As is like the sound of the wind as it moves the leaves. What we have in nature, what we have in the great outdoors is harmony. Harmony throughout. There is harmony of color, there is harmony of odors, there is harmony of sounds. It's all peaceful in a sense. What this harmony does is that it also contributes to the slow pace that I just mentioned. Because this is a pace at which we can live, in which we can live. It's the pace that we have always lived in, with the exception of a few decades or 100 years, where we, for whatever reason, decided to jam ourselves in tiny apartments and live in busy, noisy cities, away from the beauty of this world. In the hustle and bustle of the city, all you get is stress. Things are always moving, it's always intense. There isn't a moment of peace. The neighbors in your neighborhood come and go due to the nature of renting a place. Nobody's there permanently. Thus, you do not have any deep connections with anybody. You are alone as a stranger among strangers. And you live in a precarious situation, unsettled, rootless. And you are exposed to this incessant intensity, this incessant stress. And what that does to you is that it cranks you up. It cranks you up to a point where you are insensitive to subtlety. You are insensitive to nuance. In the way you are, if let's say you eat food that is really salty, right? If you eat food that is really salty, really intense in terms of how salty it is, if you then taste some food which has less salt, you will feel as if there is no salt at all. In other words, you become insensitive. And I think the city life makes us insensitive to the pace of this world, the natural pace. Like, if you see how these small motions occur, you will see it. They are really calm. They don't bother you. They don't distract you. They don't call for your attention by triggering your sense of threat. They don't alert you to them the way, let's say, a car driving at 100 kilometers an hour does to you. The way, let's say, somebody honking the, how's it called? The car honk, I forget how it's called right now, but you know what I mean. The beep beep, all that. Those alert you, those disturb you, and the more you get of those, the more you lose sense of what it is like to be in an environment where not everything is a vector of attack. Not everything is a threat. Here I am, by the way. I walked up the first hill, but of course we are still at the base of the mountain. We have a long way to go towards the top. Here are some pine trees. I don't know if you can hear it, but whenever it's windy and there are pine trees, what you hear is something akin to the sound of the wind against the waves. If you ever go to the beach and it's a windy day, but not too windy, right? Not too strong of a wind, then you get that distinct sound which the pine tree also produces. And to me, that is evoking memories which are from my place, my home country in Greece. And these memories are of natural settings, again, the beach. And these natural settings are, as I was just telling you, nuanced, they are calm. There is something to them that is subtle, something to them that you recognize only after you have brought yourself down to a level of calmness that you don't get in the city. There are people who visit the mountains, like I see it frequently. They live in an apartment, they have this stressful life, and of course I'm talking from experience. I also used to live in a city at some point for some years in my life. But there are people who come from this milieu, they come from the city, it's really bothersome to them in an unconscious yet ever-present way. They cannot name it, but they feel it, they know it. And they come to the mountains. But because their intensity levels are so high, like the baseline is so high, they cannot actually appreciate the mountain. They are so close to what you are seeing now in this video, yet so far away from it, so far withdrawn from it. It is elusive. It is something they cannot grasp. It's something they cannot experience, they cannot capture. Not because they are incapable of doing so, no. It's because they are conditioned thus. They are immersed in an environment that makes it impossible for them to be calm. And people resort to artificial means of calmness, such as through medication, sleeping pills, for example. And of course, in the absolute short term, this will get the job done, sure. But long term, all they do is they make you an addict. You are addicted to those drugs, and what started out as a solution now becomes a problem. What started out as a remedy has now turned into poison. When you slow things down, look at this beauty over here. By the way, we are going to the top, folks, over there. When you slow things down, you don't need anything artificial to prop you up. It's all here. You are complete in that regard. You are incomplete. You are a human monkey only when you move away from this. Only when you forget the little things, the simple things, and you pursue complexity. You pursue false wants. You pursue something which you thought is a good idea, but you never actually put to the test. By the way, the mountain in the distance, I don't know the field of view in the camera, how close it makes it or seem, or how far for that matter, but it is far, it's not close. So we have a long way to go, folks. And anyway, I cannot go on a straight line. Well, technically I could go on a straight line, but because it's this time of the year, there are snakes, including venomous snakes, and I would rather not traverse grassland or any spot that has dense vegetation. This is the idea anyway. Not that I will necessarily encounter a snake, but why take the risk? In Cyprus, here where I am, of course, I believe there are 3 different species of viper, 3 different species of venomous snake. And basically they are lethal. If you get bitten by a snake, you have to immediately seek medical help. You have to get a shot right away. Otherwise, you are finished. Like, there is no question about that. So one must be extra cautious. It does no harm to you. This is the other thing about nature, though, that we tend to have an idolized version of nature. And let me explain what I mean by idolized. Idol literally means the image, the picture, the representation, that which is pictorial in nature. So when we say the idol of something, we literally mean the representation of it. And you may know, of course, the word idolatry. So what does idolatry mean in practice? Let's say you have a statue of a god, or a high geography, like the painting of a saint, a Christian saint, okay? And in a good sense, the idol is used as a reminder, as a proxy, for you to think about what it represents, to think about that which is symbolized, to think about the bigger idea. But if you are an idolater, what you do instead is you worship the item itself instead of what it represents. So, in nature, we can't have this idolization of it. And we see this in various hippie circles, for example, where it's like, no, nature, it's basically all good, and humans are just the bad. Whatever human is bad, whatever natural is good. And this is a naive and ultimately wrong understanding of nature. Nature is neither good nor bad. It is this kind of distinction of good versus bad is just a human consideration. If it applies to only a small subset of phenomena among the totality of phenomena in this world. It applies to human affairs, but it doesn't apply to natural events. For example, a snake, a poisonous snake, is neither good nor bad. This makes no sense. It just is. It is another animal among the totality of animals, another life form among the totality of life forms. And in practice, it has an important role to play in the ecosystem. There is nothing wasteful in the ecosystem. There is nothing that should not be there. Everything is there for a reason. And if we play this game of, oh, this good, let's keep it, and oh, this bad, let's remove it, what we are doing is we are just acting out of ignorance. We don't have an understanding of the bigger picture, and thus what we do is wrong. The idolization of nature, thus, is the naivete by which we say that, oh, all this, it's all good. There is nothing out there that can harm you in nature. But nature can definitely harm you. Nature can definitely kill you. Think, for example, of the sea. Let's imagine the water element, right? The water element is what gives us life. Water. We are water. Without water, we don't exist, right? Of course, simplifying now, but let's say we are water. And water is our life. Water is also a medium for us to travel and to do commerce and to enrich our culture and also enrich ourselves materially. Like you take a boat from Greece and you go to Egypt, for example, and you do trade with the Egyptians, and you take them olive oil and they give you their grains or whatever, right? And so the Egyptians get some fine oil and the Greeks get to make bread or whatever. Like, this is good, it's nice. But the water element can also be stormy. They can drown you, and you will never be seen again. And so the water element in general, is neither good nor bad. We have to understand that in nature, everything is in a state of admixture. When something which we would consider good happens, such as water nourishing you, it always has in it something so-called bad as well. Like with water, when you are drinking water, if you drink too much water, like a ridiculous amount, you will actually poison yourself. You will actually deplete your body of the nutrients it needs, and basically that will kill you, or anyhow lead to some kind of injury. And the same with the sea. If you go for a swim, that's good, but if you go for a swim on a windy day, well, we might never see you again. So in nature, things are in a state of admixture, state of there is no such thing as pure good or pure bad. And of course, as I said, these may not make even sense at all, but even if they were to make sense, they would make sense in a way that is mixed, in the way that is nuanced, in a way that requires us to think in terms of degrees, to not think in terms of absolutes. To think in terms of degrees also is another way of saying to think in terms of what is actually happening and not in some abstract way. Because of course absolutes are abstract. There is no such thing as an instantiated, an in vivo absolute. By the way, folks, there are people here who are cutting down the grass. I am moving up the mountain, but probably it's too noisy now. I don't know if you can hear me, but we will wait. So I don't know if you see, it's uphill. The field of view, I don't know how much it helps to get a sense of how difficult this climb is. Of course, me, I am used to walking, so me walking and talking non-stop isn't that difficult. Of course, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's not that difficult. And otherwise, it's very hard. It's very hard to walk up a mountain. Plus, it's a sunny day, and that makes it warm already, and that adds to the difficulty. So, where are we? We are talking about nature, how we want to be in this world. We want to bring ourselves in alignment with a natural element, which means, in other words, to calibrate our being for nuance, to calibrate our being for discerning the little things, the things which are small, yet capturing them the universals. But we do this without idolizing nature. We want to see nature as is, not as a figment of our imagination, not as how we think it is or should be, how we would like it to be. In other words, we don't want to project our biases, our morality, our norms onto this world. Morality, for whatever it is worth, is useful as a tool for people to organize their social experience, to live together. And as a tool, it is useful. But we have to use every tool correctly. And morality is no exception. Like, if you want to drive a screw, you don't use a hammer, you use a screwdriver. Not because hammers are bad or wrong, it's because they are not the right tool for the job. And of course, if you want to hammer a nail, you don't use a screwdriver, and so on. You get the point. It's very nice here, folks. Again, some pine trees here. This specific part of the country doesn't have a lot of pine trees. The diversity here is much more pronounced. For example, pine trees. And this one here is a cypress tree. And next to it is an almond tree. This is an almond tree. And there are all sorts of shrubs around here. We can see some wild grapevines, for example, here, and some fennel right there. And here we see a shrub whose name I don't know in English. I haven't looked it up. In Greek it's called rouvia. Rouvia, one word, rouvia. And I know that its fruit is used as it's edible basically, but it needs to be salted or whatever, so it's not that easy to eat. But yeah, this is how it is. And we see over there, a little bit further in the distance as we take the turn here, we see that some parts of this slope were burnt. They were burnt down. I will have to assume that this was some controlled fire, because there was no wildfire here. It's too limited in scope. Probably they were burning down some of the pieces of grapevine that they pruned from the vineyard, and they collected it all here and they set it on fire. But maybe they didn't do it well. For example, that shrub over there, which is now burnt, looks like a hawthorn. I'm not sure. This one looks like an almond tree. Let's see. Yeah, it is an almond tree indeed. And yeah, here is how it is. And we keep going up. Folks, we keep going up. And as I said, this video will be long. Here we see some caper. This is caper. The scientific name is Capparis spinosa. I think spinosa means spiky or thorny, I'm not sure. And of course Capparis is caper. So yeah, that's how it is. Let's continue. We are getting closer to the mountaintop, but still we are at least half an hour away. Of course, at the pace I'm walking at, right? If you have to take breaks, if you are moving slower, then of course half an hour turns into 2 hours. But yeah, we will see. We will see how it goes. I don't want to make this whole video about philosophy, what I was telling you. I think what I said is enough. I don't need to belabor the point, because that's the other thing with philosophy in general, which is philosophers tend to philosophize too much. And of course, coming from a philosopher and me continuing to philosophize is how do we say, I forget the word right now, is ironic, but I have to say it in the interest of instruction, to communicate a point, which is that philosophers tend to philosophize too much. They tend to think too much. They are susceptible to overthinking. And what they forget to do is to actually put their ideas to the test. Remember what I said when I was at the beginning of this video, where I was saying that with walking, we basically learn about our limits because we do something practical. And this is generally applicable. Whatever you have thought of, and you're like, this is a good idea, I now subscribe to this school of thought, maybe it's cool, maybe it's the new hipster thing to do, or whatever. Ask yourself, can you live in accordance with your precepts? Can you actually do what you say should be done? And if the answer is yes, you will know it by doing it. It won't be a theoretical yes. And if the answer is no, it will be because you tried it and basically you saw that it doesn't work. And depending on how far-fetched your philosophy is, you won't live to tell us that it didn't work. But that's another discussion. Hopefully it won't go that far. You won't need to go to that end to understand that your ideas are nonsense. We don't want to philosophize at length without reaching a point where we act. It's good to clarify some things, but then it's important to just walk or act or do something. Don't just sit there and try to figure out the perfect system. Philosophers have this other propensity of totalizing their thoughts. And not just philosophers, of course. The same problem exists with theoretical physics, for example. Scientists have the same issues, where it's like, oh, we have to have a theory of everything. Well, how will you have a theory of everything? Like, with whatever it is you start with, that you just declare as true. You take it for granted. Like, you cannot have a theory of how you started with. And so we need to have a theory of everything and none of the practical reasonableness that helps us in life. The practical reasonableness of doing things in this world, of understanding how the world works, of understanding who we are, what our limits are, and of working with what we have. Look at this, by the way, folks. Those mountain ranges in the distance. It's mountains as far as the eye can see. The further away they are, the more blue they are. And it's so beautiful. So nice. The air, by the way, it's really cold right now. Even though the sun is hot, the air is cold. So I can feel it. Not least because we are at a high altitude. So the highest peak in Cyprus is close to 2,000 meters. It's a bit less than that. I think the actual number is 1,920 meters, I think. So that is the peak of Olympus. Anyhow, we are at a high altitude here. And of course, at a high altitude, things are different than what you get at sea level. This year, we got snowfall as late as April 13th. That's April, folks. We got snow in April. Winters here, based on my observation anyway, stretch from the end of December, let's say at the solstice, around the solstice, from the end of December until the end of March. So it's not the solstice, it's the equinox. The solstice is in March. So no, I have it the other way around. No, the solstice is in December, the equinox is in March. Anyway, between these solar events, okay, so between these solar events are the winter months, and then of course each of those solar events delimits a season. But this year we got snow in April, almost a month after the spring equinox. So yeah, that was something. It doesn't happen frequently, but it did happen this year. Anyway, there is the peak. We are getting closer, folks. Still ways to go though. I think I see a car there. It's too bad that there are cars here, because I want to not disturb anybody, but I also don't want anybody to disturb me, so that I can do my video in peace, my walking and talking. the walkie-talkies, as we say. The mountain peaks there, they are looking good. I really like, by the way, the colors, to the point of what I was telling you of how harmonious they are. Just if you see any patch of land, there are all these colors which blend harmoniously together. Like there is this intense, vivid green with accents of gold because of the sunlight that falls on the leaves, contrasting against deeper shades of green with a backdrop of earthly colors, including brown and ochre, and the blue backdrop, the sky. This is so beautiful. And any given patch of land has beauty like this. And I really like it. I really like absorbing all that this world has to offer. The aesthetic side of us. We have, like our brain has different compartments. Like there is a part that processes information, there is another part that processes emotions, and so on. And we tend to think that, oh, I can just be a rational agent. We even have theories. For example, if you study economics, it's all predicated on the, like mainstream economics anyway, textbook economics. It's all predicated on the assumption that we are rational agents operating at the margin of optimality. And nothing could be further from the truth. Of course, this is a chimera. This is just a fantasy human. It's not a real person. But anyway, the idea is that you can be a rational agent. You are a rational agent. And I think this is not true. We cannot compartmentalize our rationality. We cannot separate it from our emotions. We cannot have an aesthetic appreciation of the world like beauty. We cannot experience beauty in rational terms. Like, this is something you can simply understand. When you see a child at awe, whenever it encounters something in nature, even the most little things, like when it tests like something that is subject to gravity, or when it plays with a paddle or whatever, or with adults, when we are when we are looking at the landscape, when we are observing these open vistas, and we are like, wow, and your jaw drops, you know how that is. And when that is sincere, you cannot describe that in rational terms. You cannot actually provide a definition for what beauty is. And yet, you cannot dismiss the concept of beauty altogether because it resists definition. You know that there is something there. You know it when you feel it. How to define it? Well, you cannot, because then you are engaging in a reductive exercise. You are rationalizing it, which means that you are detracting from it. And that's why we call it reductive, right? Because it reduces. It reduces the experience. This is really steep, by the way, folks. Wow. So that's nice. But it will continue to be steep because we still are far from the top. The field of view probably doesn't do it justice. But we will see. We will continue and have a nice time. Let's see. So yeah, I say, let's not try to be this kind of human. Again, to the point of what I was saying. Let's try to practice and to be in the world and to be in a state of doing, not just thinking, where it will become apparent, readily evident to us that we are not homo economicus, that we are not just rational agents operating at the margin of optimality, and that we have emotions and we have an aesthetic appreciation of the world, and our body, the state of our body, conditions how we think. When your energy levels are low, for example, you cannot think clearly. When you are ill, you cannot think at all. When you are in pain, same idea. And on the flip side, when you have high energy levels, when you are in a state such as what you are seeing in this video, where you can walk and talk and remain concentrated on what you are saying and still continue to walk, when you are in that state, you have the opposite, where now you are empowered to channel your energy to whatever it is you want to do. And so your concentration is higher and your performance is better. Not because of some magic, it's because it's all connected. It cannot be otherwise. You cannot be in a state where your body needs to tend to other aspects of it and also channel energy to what you want to think about. It doesn't work that way. You have finite resources, and so your body will make sure to use them for what is essential and will not commit resources to what is inessential. So if you want to have more energy for your active interests, well, you need to have more energy in general. It is as simple as that. Can you hear the birds? Beautiful. By the way, folks, we are going up there. We are getting closer. So maybe when I said we need another half an hour, I was wrong, but we will see, because of course we will go around. We won't go straight up. It doesn't lead to the top. So yeah, we will see how it is. I don't know, by the way, if the camera captures this specific slope here, where it has so many different colors. I see light green, I see dark green, I see shades of teal. Wow, it's simply amazing. Like, the whole thing is a painting. You don't need to add anything to it. But if you were to add something, it would probably be ugly. Like, this is as it is fantastic. The air is cold, it's stronger at this point. Whenever you walk by the way, a certain point in the mountains and you feel the breeze, you have to assume that this is a spot where water flows through. This is my observation. And if you think about it, it makes total sense, because of course, from where water flows, there is an opening, and of course, if there is an opening, air will flow through as well. And of course, this is generally the case. There are, of course, springs that just come out of the mountain. But generally speaking, if you are walking and you feel some breeze, the chances are good that there is an opening there for water and for the wind to go through. Very calm day today. There were some people doing a little bit of work, but generally I would say it's extremely quiet in terms of human activity. This time of the year, by the way, I didn't check what the date is, but it's Wednesday and we are at the end of May. But I forget what the date is exactly. But the point is that at this time of the year, generally all the work has been done in the fields. And now they require very little maintenance, if any maintenance. And work will resume when the vintage is. And that should be starting at the end of August, going all the way to November, depending of course on the season, the kind of yields they will get. But yeah, that is basically how it works. We will see. Very nice, very nice. The mountains, the countryside, I really like it. We will go up the mountain, folks. It's all uphill, by the way. I don't know if you can tell. And there are spots where it's really steep and it's much more difficult. But even this specific slope here, which is mildly upward, is hard. Like, It's hard if you are not used to it. And of course, it's hard if you have already been walking for several minutes, right? And you have to maintain the momentum. You have to have stamina to continue doing it. But yes, we have a long way to go. As I said, the total duration of my walk today will be maybe 3 hours. We will see exactly how that will go. I didn't talk about my dogs, by the way. I did take them for a walk earlier this morning, but right now it's too warm for them. So I took them for a walk, then I fed them, and then I let them to sleep to get a good day's rest, and we will have more time to play together later when it's cooler. For now, they are just sleeping and they relax, so that's nice. Continuing up the mountain. This sort of walk at the physical level now, forget about the aesthetics and everything else, which is really important. At the physical level, it is vigorous, right? So it's something that requires strength, basically. But it's also invigorating. And it's not just invigorating, it also has a calming effect. To me at least, it does. To me at least, look at this. To me at least, it does. Because, there is an eagle over there. I don't know if it's caught on camera. Oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. I don't know if we can see it, folks. Maybe I can switch the zoom level. 1 second, let's go. I switched to the 2x zoom, but I don't think I can see anything. Let me switch back to 0.5. Okay, I don't know if you saw any eagle there, but trust me, there is an eagle. Of course, I walk where the eagles fly. This is common. I see eagles every single day. And to the point of what I was saying, it is relaxing to have this kind of vigorous and invigorating walk, because you expend whatever surplus energy you have. At least this is how I feel it. Like, if on a given day I don't get enough of physical exercise like this, I feel that I am not at ease. I feel like I am tense. Of course, maybe I am exaggerating now. I don't mean to say that I cannot sit still, but it feels as if I cannot just sit there. It feels as if I am pressured into action. And this is a little bit like with dogs. If you ever had a dog, you know how it is. If you keep them confined to a small space and you don't give them enough exercise, dogs eventually get uneasy. They are stressed and they will start chewing off your shoes and your furniture, and they will make a mess of things. And then you will be like, oh, bad dog, bad dog. No, the dog is not bad. It's just that you are not providing an outlet for its surplus energy, and that is what's causing the problem. And I think the same is true for people. Like, in my case at least, I experience this. Like, if I bottle up all that energy, eventually I will explode. Eventually I won't feel good. I won't be violent or harm anybody, but I will be sad. I will feel depressed. I will feel disempowered. Getting this kind of walk though, having this sort of activity on a daily basis, grounds me in my reality and expenses with that surplus energy. So when I eventually commit to my work, I am actually more focused, because there isn't that surplus, that kind of activity that keeps me busy and pushes me to move, compels me into action, as it were. And this is how walking for me has this calming effect. Not just walking, of course, it could be any kind of physical activity, but walking, I think, is good because of how it combines exposure to the great outdoors. We see them, beautiful. So how it combines exposure to nature, how it brings you into contact with the beauty of this world, how you can breathe fresh air as well. So there is an aesthetic aspect, there is a physiological aspect, and of course the exercise it gives you. So that I like very much. By the way, this is a very nice track here, and I like how there is vegetation fairly tall on either side, with the skies, the blue skies in the distance. I can see some clouds gathering. The weather forecast for today is that there will be rainfall later in the day, but of course we will see. I don't know what's the local time right now. It has to be around 10 a.m., something like that. But the forecast is for rainfall to happen past noon, so we will see. Okay, we are going up the mountain, further up the mountain, and we see again, this is steep, very steep, I would say. And yeah, of course, if you are not used to walking, you are not climbing up this, forget about it. Look at this, folks, look at these blue mountains. The blue mountains, they are blue, as I said earlier, because of how far away they are. And it's so nice. It's so nice. It's also nice to be up here. I feel the cold air. It's something special. Like, you can't really put it into words. If you experience it, then that's something different. You are like, wow, how that feels. It's so amazing. But it's special. Nothing compares to this. Okay, one slope done, but there is more to go. And more blue mountains. It's mountains all the way, folks. And yeah, here we are. Of course, some truck cleared the path here. This is not naturally occurring, right? The whole path I have covered, I have traversed, it is like this. So let's go up and let's see. By the way, I'm looking at my phone and it says right now 58 minutes and 10 seconds. So let's see if at the hour mark I will be looking at the how's it called? The radar, which is at the top of this mountain, at this specific peak. We will see. It's hard. I don't think I can make it in less than 2 minutes, but we will see. We will see, folks. It doesn't really matter, of course. The point is that I keep going up, and it's, as I said, vigorous yet invigorating, and it's so nice. Of course, once you warm up, you don't actually stop. Once you warm up, you pick up pace, and if you have enough stamina, well, you can continue doing this for much longer. Let's see. So there is the station, there is the spot, which is the highest spot of this specific peak, of this specific mountain. Of course, I won't go there, but you see it. We will walk around it. We won't go to it, not least because I think that's for the weather, by the way, the weather station, but not least because it may have cameras all around it, and I don't want to trigger any kind of authority into action. I don't want to incur the wrath of the state. I just am a naturalist who walks around the mountains. I don't need to deal with the state apparatus. Screw them. But yeah, let's continue. So yeah, now we are past the hour mark, folks. And you know what? I say let's continue. I won't close the video now. I won't terminate it. Let's continue. And either I will reach the 2-hour mark and then I will stop the recording, or I will stop it when I am at a point that is closer to home, or at a point that I don't feel like I should show more. But anyway, let's continue and we will see. Let it come about organically. Let it happen on its own. And this attitude, by the way, of going with the flow, essentially, is, I think, what living close to nature is all about. Because you understand already from the first example I gave in this video of walking, you understand that some things are the way they are, such as your walking pace. It cannot really change. Maybe you can train to be a bit faster, but fundamentally it is what it is. And so going with the flow is the natural way of living. You just work with nature, you don't go against it. To say what I also said in another video I did recently, a philosophy video, you don't argue with necessity. Necessity is just there. It gives you a direction and you just take it and you shut your big mouth. You just take it and you work with it. This is the idea. We see some poppies here, beautiful red flowers amid the grapevines. Very nice. I don't know if any of that is caught on camera, by the way. I cannot see very clearly here because of the sun. It is reflecting against my screen and my view is thus imperfect. The colors I see may be distorted as a result, but hopefully my phone is doing a good job and it gives you a fairly accurate idea of what I have been experiencing thus far, folks. So beautiful. And there are some plants here that have been burnt down. This could be a controlled fire, though it could also be a wildfire. I remember there was a wildfire a couple of years ago somewhere around this area. Look at this, folks. Look at that. Look at this. It takes your breath away. This is amazing. This is a thing of beauty. This is it. This is what beauty feels like. And of course, seeing it through the camera, it pales in comparison to the real experience. But yeah, wow, look at that. And maybe you can hear the birds as well. It's amazing. And what is also calming, again, is this subtle motion. Look at it. Everything is in motion. There are butterflies. There are birds. There are all these different kinds of plant. And they all move. The clouds, they move as well. The planet, it moves as well. The stars, everything is in motion. But it's orderly. And it's the kind of motion we can live with without being disturbed by it. To what I was saying earlier, not to repeat the point, but it is what it is. And I find it very, very nice. What did they do to that mountain in the distance? It seems barren, it seems arid. I wonder if there is some human intervention that has produced this effect. I don't know if you can even see it on camera. It's behind those trees in the foreground. But to my naked eye, it looks more dry than its other mountains, its surrounding mountains. So I don't know what's the deal with that. Actually, I don't know where I should go, folks. I could go down this way, or I could go down this way. So I will go this way. I've passed through this road before. I've traversed all the paths, actually, so I know my way around the mountain. And generally, one of my strong points, I would say, is my ability to orient myself. I can go on an exploration anywhere, and I can retrace my steps. I can figure out where I am. I won't get lost. This is how it is. And I always enjoy this sense of adventure. Of course, it's not dangerous, right? I don't mean to say that this adventure is something that is especially risky, but it nevertheless is an adventure. Like, you go out there, you have to explore, and well, there is some difficulty to it. Of course there is, because for example, I don't have any water with me, and this means that if I were to get lost, and let's say a 2-hour walk would end up being a 10-hour walk, well, that would be, of course, much more dangerous. But exactly because I trust in my ability to retrace my steps and to orient myself, I don't worry. Let's see, here I am. Hello. So it's my phone with the selfie stick, and I keep walking, so it's very nice. And because I can find my way wherever I am, I feel a natural calling, as it were, like I am built for this. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly what the reason for that is. Maybe it's because humans are naturally hunters, right? Like, we live in societies that are governed by law and by moral codes and by etiquette and by politeness and all that. And of course, these are all useful and I want to have them, but they can also distract us from some basics of our human nature, some basics of the fact that we are animals. And we are not just any animal, we are apex predators. If you think a tiger is dangerous, well, you have no idea how dangerous a human is. We are far more dangerous than all the other predators combined. It's not even a question, it's not even a contest. And maybe my sense of adventure is fundamentally an expression of this apex predator within. Of course, when I say this, it kind of, it might be misinterpreted. It might be taken as, oh, therefore I am in favor of violence and being nasty and whatnot, which is not what I am saying. Because of course, as humans, we also have reason, and with us can impose constraints on our more animalistic or instinctive propensities, right? So I am not saying that the fact that we have the capacity for exploration or the capacity for exerting force or whatever, the capacity for hunting, for being a predator, I'm not saying that because we have that, therefore anything goes. No, I'm not saying that, of course. But the point is that my sense of adventure may be rooted in that. It may be an expression of that. An expression of the human qua apex predator. Of course, I'm not out here to hunt anything. I won't touch anything. I'm just here to explore. I'm just here to enjoy the birds and the butterflies and the landscapes and the clouds and everything else, and have a relaxing experience, an enriching experience. This is how it is. What is that bird over there? Could it be another eagle? It could be a falcon. There is a bird there that looks like either a young eagle or a falcon. So because it flies low, I will assume it's a falcon, but I'm not sure. So the difference between falcons and eagles is, of course, one of size. Eagles are much larger, but when the eagle is young, it's hard to tell the difference. Like, you have to see it up close. And one characteristic of the falcon is that it can basically suspend its position mid-air. Like, it flaps its wings and it stays exactly where it is, and from the given vantage point it has picked, it can identify potential prey and then dive and basically grab it. Whereas eagles tend to circle around and only perform the dive from there. Like, they don't just hover in a specific spot. Isn't it beautiful, folks? It's amazing. It's amazing. And to me, this is something that I don't want to give up for anything. Like, there is no incentive that could be strong enough for me to just abandon this. Like, I would have to be forced out of this. I wouldn't do it by choice. It's very nice. I really like it. Of course, when we are walking, now I am walking and talking non-stop, because this is a video, and I guess a video of me saying nothing would be extremely boring, right? But when I am walking, I normally don't say anything, so it's always extra quiet. And of course that contributes to the experience. It is ever more serene, and yeah, it's like that. But now I have to do something for the sake of the video. I have to entertain you, I guess, or to accompany you, maybe another way of putting it. But even if we were on a walk together, I wouldn't be talking all that much. Like, that would again be boring and it would be distracting. Of course, talking is fine, I have no problem with that, but talking for the sake of talking is not good. Let's see, folks, where are we? Rocky ground here, and we continue. Now we go downhill, and it will be downhill all the way, with a few exceptions, because of course we reach the highest point, and from here we just go down. I don't know if you can still see that mountain that I was talking about earlier, that looks arid. I'm not sure what is going on there, folks. I don't like it. But yeah, of course it could be natural. Not to say that a mountain that has no vegetation necessarily is the result of some mischief on behalf of people. It could be naturally like that. Like, it could have some different kinds of minerals to it, such as amiander, and those will basically kill everything around them. They inhibit the growth of vegetative life. So yeah, beautiful, beautiful. The wind is something special, folks. I really like the wind. And in the distance, in the horizon, maybe you cannot see it on camera, it's also a day with lots of dust particles in the air, because in the distance the view is not clear. But basically I can I can discern the coastline. Cyprus is an island, of course, but where I live inland, and I live in the mountains. So my experience is the experience of a person living in a continent where all you see is land, and when you climb up a mountain you see just more mountain, and it keeps going. But Cyprus is very much an island, and in the distance I can see the coast, and this wind, and of course the sun and the colors and everything, they are standard Mediterranean experiences. Like, I see all this, I experience all this, and of course I cannot help but remember my life in Greece and the experience of all this, like they are tied together. I cannot forget them. Like, even though I live in a mountain now, basically the sea is always a part of me. It will never go away. That's how it is. And I have been living in these mountains for about a decade now. I did it by choice. And I did it because fundamentally, I wanted an adventure. Fundamentally, I wanted a life that involved vigor. I wanted a life that had challenge to it, but challenge of the sort that is natural, not challenge of the sort that is stressful, of the sort that comes from city life. I abandoned my previous career. I quit because that kind of job, the office job, is fundamentally unhealthy. It's a job that, yes, is more prestigious. Yes, it gives you more money. Yes, there is more security in that. But what is the point? What is the point of having all that money if you then need to spend it on remedying your illnesses, including mental disease? Like, what is the point? Why? Why do that? So I was like, you know what? Screw all that. I will abandon this world and I will go and live vigorously. I will go and live in the mountains where it's harder to do things, where nobody will congratulate you for anything. You won't be embellishing your CV with whatever it is you do there. But you will be healthy. You will be calm. You will be grounded in your actuality. And thus, you will be at peace. And so for me, this transition from the city life, from the office job, to the mountain life, and to the manual labor that I used to do for many years, and now the coaching work I do. This transition was not easy, but it ultimately was for the better. It ultimately was empowering. Yes, as I said, it's hard, but oh my goodness, it's so rewarding. Like I would never want to go back to that world, to that darkness, fundamentally. Look at this. Look at this. This is the light. The open vistas. It's not claustrophobic. It's not a small office space. And you are in the office all day. Wow. Why? Why? Why would we do that to ourselves? Look at this. There is nature as far as the eye can see. And it reminds you that no matter how strong you think you are, or no matter how much stamina you think you have, well, the world is still greater than you. You are nothing special in the grand scheme of things. You cannot be the real deal. Whatever real deal means to you, you cannot be that. Here, you are just humbled. You are just humbled because you are small and the world is large. But you don't need to be large. You don't need to be special. You just need to accept the limits within which your experience unfolds. The limits imposed on you from powers greater than yours. The limits that apply to your being. And when you agree to live within those boundaries, then your experience shall be benign and shall be fulfilling. Otherwise, there will always be tension. There will always be uneasiness. There will always be something there which you cannot name, that disturbs you, that eats away at you. Something there that annoys you, something there that basically says, you are wrong, mate. You are on the wrong path. You should course correct. What are you doing? At least this is how I experienced it. And from talking to people, I can tell that this is not an experience unique to me. This is how many people feel. And they feel that our world, the values we have, are basically misplaced. Like, oh, you should have a good career and you should work your whole life for your career, and maybe once you are done with your job at the age of 60, then you can do whatever you feel like. And I'm like, no, my friend, you have it backward. You want to be killing yourself. You want to be committing your most vital years, the years where you are at the peak of your powers. You want to commit them to this goal instead of doing something benign when you have the power for it, and then just continue doing it for the rest of your life. I don't care, me personally, I don't care about status. Like, to me, it means nothing. Like, I don't care if anybody thinks I am actually successful or I am actually respectable. Like, I don't want to be respectable in any conventional way. I don't care. What I want is to be at peace with myself, one with the nature. And when I am that, when I am not disturbed, and when I am focused in what I am doing, then maybe people will notice. Maybe people will understand that there is profundity to whatever it is I am doing. They will understand that there is something there which is deeper, something there which is far better rooted, something there which has strong foundation, something that is immovable, something that will not break. And we continue down the mountain, folks. Let's be careful here for me not to step on some gravel and lose my balance. Okay, that's good. And maybe then, if people notice that, maybe then they will start paying attention to the little things. Because this too is a little thing. It is the nuance I was talking about earlier. It is exactly that. Because we tend to appreciate tokens. The token, of course, in its quality as tokenistic, in its quality as representational and pictorial and idle, as I said earlier, tokens are surface level. There is no depth to them. So you have the token of the respectable job. You have the token of the illustrious career. And people pay their respects to the title, but not to the actual person. Maybe you also are a person of substance, but for someone to know that, they will have to know you. Whereas the tokens, they don't need to know you. They just see it. It's written on the box. And they are like, oh, hello. Hello, sir. I respect you because you have the title. but I know nothing of who you are. And to me, I see no point in that. For me, if I am in contact with someone, if I have a personal connection, I want it to be about who I am. I don't want it to be about what I seem to be representing. I don't want it to be about the surface, in other words. We continue, folks. It's almost 1 hour and 25 minutes, more than 25 minutes, almost 26 now, since I started recording this video. And I am walking down the mountain now, but of course, we still have a very long way until we are done. And I am not taking the same path, of course. I'm not going exactly back from where I came. But we will see. We will see how it goes. Let's be careful not to lose our balance. Of course, walking uphill is difficult because it requires strength and stamina. But walking downhill is also difficult because it requires a good balance on your feet. And you also need to be well trained because it exerts pressure on your knees. And so the muscles around the knee have to be fairly strong. Otherwise, the pressure is too much and you feel pain. And generally, if you ever go on a walk like this, I suggest that you take it easy. So, 1 second, folks. I think this path here leads to a dead end. So let's go down this path. So I suggest you take it easy. Don't go on a walk unprepared. Like you see me, I don't even carry water with me. Don't assume that this is easy. Don't assume that, oh, I've never done it before, but if Prod is doing it, I can do it as well. And I start right away. No, of course not. I have been doing this for many, many, many years. And even before I did this, I was an athlete. So it's something I have been doing basically all my life. But take it easy. Get some water with you. Maybe grab a couple of oranges or some apples. And think of it more as a picnic and less as a walk that is intense or that is demanding on the body. Because this is not about a competition. This is not about some peak performance and we have to be as competitive as possible. Now, what's the point of that? No, it's not that. The point is to get out there, to escape from the confines of our room, to set aside our connected devices, which are a source of distractions, a source of addictions as well, and to do something that is slow, as I said earlier again. To do something that we cannot force to happen quickly. You cannot speed up after a certain point. You will have to go with the pace that is natural. And in practical terms here, let's assume that you need to get away from your computer, which is the source of your distractions. You do it. Now you go and you are 3 hours away from the computer, just like that. And these 3 hours were not just 3 hours away from the computer. They were 3 hours of awesome, of fulfilling experiences. 3 hours of fresh air, if nothing else. And I think that is wonderful. We continue, folks, this dirt road. And I haven't been describing my surrounding nature all that much. But you must have seen it. I think it's very nice. Here, I'm not sure what this shrub is here. Now that I see it, it's not clear to me. This one here, I know it in Greek. I don't know how it is in English. I haven't looked it up. It's called Tromithia in Greek Cypriot. Tromithia. If we were to say that in mainland Greek, we would say Tromidhia. But of course, why would we do that? I mean, this reminds me of another strong opinion I have. I don't have many strong opinions, but this is one of them, which is that I am in favor of dialects. I am in favor of preserving the idioms of our specific country. Like Greek Cypriot is of course Greek, and if you are versed in letters, you don't need to be an expert, but if you have read a little bit, if you understand some ancient Greek, you can tell that Greek Cypriot has a lot of influences coming directly from ancient Greek, like a lot, more than modern mainland Greek, I would say. But there is a tendency to make everybody use the official dialect, the official version of the language that is sanctioned by the government, by some central bureau of morons who think that language is just a set of rules and it's not a living thing. And I'm like, no, my friend, we won't do that. We won't succumb to your pedantic edicts. We have a language that has occurred naturally through the millennia, and we won't just sacrifice it because of some new government initiative. Like, screw your government, we don't care. And so when Greek Cypriots try to speak to me in the mainland Greek kind of voice, I'm like, what are you doing, mate? You have a beautiful dialect here. You have living history here. And you want to throw that away because of what you watch on TV or whatever, or what you read in some school book? Like, burn those books. They are harming you. You have language that is beautiful. Just keep it. Of course, I don't literally mean burn the books, but I mean that they are as much a problem as they are a solution. What I want is for people to not, or let me phrase it a bit differently. What I want is for people to appreciate what they have. And this also goes for culture in general. Like, we get to see a lot of Hollywood, for example, all that garbage that comes out of Hollywood. And we mindlessly mimic it, as if we don't have a culture of our own. And I'm like, why? Why do you need that? Why do you want to be like that? You could spend some of that time learning about your culture. You could spend some of that time to understand your ancestors better. Like, we have been here for thousands upon thousands of years. Hollywood wasn't even a thing. Yet you follow Hollywood. Of course, I have nothing against Hollywood in particular, right? But I am trying to make a poignant point of appreciating what we have. Appreciate what has been passed down to us through generations, what has been filtered through the eons, and what has been tested thoroughly time and time again, and what generations of practically minded people refined. But we are too quick to dismiss tradition as backward and to declare ourselves as progressive whenever we adopt whatever hipster ideology is in currency. And we go with that, and we think we are smarter than everybody else, and we think we are enlightened. We think we have discovered something that all the other generations before us were simply too dumb to appreciate, which of course is not true. If you think you are smart, it's because people before you were also smart. And what you express as enlightenment, what you express as this kind of new way of seeing the world, is simply a reflection of your cultural immaturity. It simply is a reflection of you not having considered your cultural milieu, not having actually paid attention to it. And I don't mean to say that everything our ancestors did was perfect and we shouldn't change one iota. Of course not. I am not a preservationist in that regard. I am not atavistic in my attitude, in my outlook. What I am saying, though, is that when we want to introduce some change, we have to first understand what it is we are trying to change. Why is it there? What are the reasons for it being there? It's the same, in a sense, with programming. Like, you are a programmer and you are tasked with maintaining some legacy code base, some old code that has been there for 4 decades, and you have no idea how it works, okay? But you know that it works. The company is stable, it is making money thanks to that code. And you are now the maintainer of it. Your job is not to just change things willy-nilly to whatever the new technology is. Your job is to understand, whenever it is you are changing something, why was it there? If you cannot answer the why, then don't touch it. This is basically how it is. Otherwise, you will introduce a slew of bugs that you cannot even fathom. And culture is no different. Like, society is no different. Everything is there for a reason. We don't have the manual. We don't know why it is there. We cannot actually figure out. Or maybe we can indirectly if we study our history. But fundamentally, there is no manual, user's guide that we just consult. And we're like, oh, okay, this specific part of our society is there because such and such considerations underpinned it. So we have to be extra careful. And then when we make a change, it is a change that is most probably going to have a lasting effect. It will stand the test of time. Otherwise, if we just want to change things the way we change fashion, trends, then that is just leading to instability that will engender conflicts, that will bring about a state of affairs that is unstable, a state of affairs that will beget extremist views. And fundamentally, what starts out as progressive is inwardly corrupted into its opposite and turns into a force for regression. And it is regressive and it is repressive. So I say, let's be a bit more mindful. Let's be a bit more cautious. Let's be a bit more respectful. And let's take what our tradition gives us, makes available to us, and try to make sense of it. And when I am saying this, I don't mean it in a way that is, in my opinion, misguided. And that is the way where it's like, oh, I take great pride in my culture. It is superior to everybody else's. No, it is not. How do you know that? Did you study everybody else's culture? Of course you didn't. You are just talking nonsense. This is not the point. This is not why we study our history. Like me, for example, you may have heard me many times make some reference to a Greek saying or some Greek myth or anyhow something that Greeks know very well. I don't say it in a way that implies, Oh, the Greeks are so great, wow. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. It simply is due to the fact that this is the culture I am most familiar with. If I was immersed in a different culture, I would be using that culture as a point of reference, as a source of inspiration. But what I would still be trying to do, what I am doing, and I would still be trying to do, is find those insights which are, in a sense, specific to my culture, yet applicable universally. They apply to the human condition in general. And for me, that is the beauty of every person appreciating their tradition and not making it a contest of traditions. Because I think this is what we misunderstand with the whole idea of the debate. The debate nowadays, and in the past as well, but nowadays anyway, is understood as the intellectual equivalent of a blood sport, where it's like one idea is pitted against another idea, and there has to be a winner and there has to be a loser. So we say, you win the debate. What do you mean, win the debate? You can only win the debate through rhetorical means, through talking past each other, through attacking the person, and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, your priorities are wrong, because fundamentally you are seeking glory, whereas what I want anyway is to understand our traditions and through them to gain insight into the human condition. And these insights we can share. Maybe I will use a Greek myth and somebody else will invoke an African proverb, and then another person will bring up some saying of Confucius and so on. And even though we are using different forms of representation, fundamentally we talk the same language. Fundamentally we are describing the same world. And for me this is wonderful, because it shows that in our diversity we still find the things we have in common, and we don't need to eliminate that diversity. We don't need to enforce an understanding of people by eliminating the differences between them. I think this is a misunderstanding. I think this is a bad idea. There is this song from John Lennon, I'm sure you know it, which is Imagine, and it says something along the lines of, imagine if there was nothing to divide people, basically. If there was nothing to tell people apart. And of course he says it in beautiful words and it's a nice song and all that, but the point is that, well, if we were all the same, we would have nothing to divide us and we wouldn't be fighting each other. And I think this is wrong, because if we were all the same, we would still be fighting each other, because this sameness would be a sameness that is not natural. It would be enforced. And if we were to forcefully eliminate religions, eliminate religions, and if we were to forcefully erase all languages and all cultural specificities and so on, we would have to do all that by force. And this force would have to be continuously applied, the way a dictatorship has to continuously suppress the expression, the individuality of people. Just as there is individuality in individuals, in persons, there is also individuality in cultures, because we have to think of societies as organisms. Organisms which reproduce themselves, and we call that social reproduction. And social reproduction fundamentally means biological reproduction, so of course babies being born and then one generation succeeding the other, but also of culture standing the test of time, passed on from one generation to the other. So this is social reproduction. And social reproduction has this element of individuation to it if you think of societies as organisms. And of course, if you think of societies as organisms, everything makes sense in terms of social phenomena. Everything makes sense when you're like, okay, why do we need to preserve our culture? Because in a sense, we preserve our society. We preserve the bonds that hold us together. We preserve these shared images, these shared narratives, these shared experiences, these shared values, which allow us to engage, to interact with each other, and to develop trust among ourselves more easily. And upon trust, we have peaceful neighborhoods, we have commerce, and we have civilization at large. Without trust, there is nothing. Without trust, you fear for your life. Anybody around you is a potential threat. Anybody around you can attack you at any moment. There is no stability whatsoever. Why would you try to do anything long term when there may not even be a long term due to the radical uncertainty you are dealing with? So there is that. And this is a long way of saying that I want the Greek Cypriots to continue to use the Greek Cypriot dialect. It is beautiful, it is their history, it is their culture, and they should keep it. Of course, they can always learn from others, but learning from others is not the same as abandoning what you have. And I think that is an important distinction to be made. Beautiful day, folks. We are closing in on 2 hours, so I will just reach the 2-hour mark and then close the video, because after that I will have to go for the 3-hour mark, and then I think it's too long of a video. But anyway, you get the idea, right? You see how it is. Like, this is my kind of long walk, and I really like it. And maybe you enjoyed it as well. Maybe you saw some nice vistas, and you appreciated the beauty of this world a little bit more. You maybe felt a little bit how I feel. By the way, it got dark all of a sudden. What is happening? Oh, look at this, just one cloud and okay, now it's back to being sunny. As I said, there will be rainfall later today. At least such is the forecast. But we will see. The weather is, rather the air is cold. I can feel it. And so if that is any indication, it suggests that there is a lot of humidity in the air. I can sense it. And yeah, in the mountains it happens quite frequently, where the day starts off sunny. You don't see a single cloud in the sky, and before you know it, it's raining. Because of course there will be more and more clouds gathering up, and there will be showers. Of course it won't be raining a lot, but even if we get a little bit of precipitation, that will be good. Last year was especially challenging. We had severe drought. I think it stopped raining in early April, and then the next rainfall came in something like November. It was really, really bad, folks, really bad. And the year before was no different, and the year before that still. Basically, we have been dealing with drought for a long time. So hopefully we will get some rainfall today. Like, a good scenario for Cyprus is to have at least one day of a little bit of rainfall each month during the summer months. So if we could have some rain in May, April, May, June, July, August, September. If we can have that, then that's good. The summer months, of course, just to revisit what I said earlier with the winter months. Based on my observations, in this part of the world, at least, in the mountains, the summer months are from the end of June until the end of September, give or take, okay? Again, we go with the solar events. So we have the solstices and the equinoxes. And we go with those. So on the 21st of June, it is the day that is the longest. And on the 21st of December, it is the night that is the longest. It's the shortest day of the year. And in September and March, we have the equinoxes, which means the equal night, equinox. So the equal night and day, 12 hours of daytime, 12 hours of nighttime. And they delimit the seasons here. More or less, of course, this is not exact science what I'm telling you now, but based on what I have observed. So that's good enough for me anyway. I'm just rambling now, I have nothing more to say. I think I told you enough, and maybe more than what you can process, and you will need to reflect on all these. I covered a lot of ground. Of course, I covered a lot of ground physically, as you saw, but I also covered a lot of ground intellectually, as you heard, and there will be a lot to consider, and that takes time. You don't have to do it all at once. In the same way, it takes time to traverse the mountains on foot. You cannot do it too quickly. And I think I will close on this point, which is the point of doing things too quickly. We have this idea of making ourselves extra productive. And of course, productive here is basically our way of coping with the tsunami of information that is coming our way. And we think that the best way to be productive is to set up as frictionless of a capturing system as possible. Capturing / processing / filtering / searching system as possible. In other words, all that information that comes our way, we somehow put it in the right box, and basically we set up a so-called second brain, which empowers us to expand this one brain we have with all that extra knowledge. Oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, folks. Look at that, this is a chameleon. Oh my goodness, so beautiful. But let's not disturb it. Let's not disturb it. Wow. Wow, that was amazing, folks. So that was unexpected. So beautiful, very nice. I must say that I haven't seen a chameleon in years. So that was nice. So I think you saw it in the camera. I didn't want to disturb it though. I think I scared the little fella. So hopefully he will recover. Anyway. We want to have this frictionless system, this second brain. And what we do basically is we forget something really important about life, which is that, well, friction is good actually. Think of walking. Like if there is no friction, you cannot actually walk. You will just fall. You will not be able to walk. You know how it is. You know the physics. I don't need to explain that. Like if you walk on ice, you slip, you fall, you break your head. That's how it is. So friction, even at the most basic level, is good, but also it is good in the sense that there is resistance, and so there is some effort you have to put into it. It's not effortless, but because there is some effort, you have to basically build up the capacity for whatever it is you are doing. In this case, for processing information, for thinking about it, for understanding it. You have to build that muscle, as it were. But also physically, right? Like when there is resistance, you have to get stronger in order to cope with it. And the intellectual side is no different. And maybe we can think of stronger metaphorically, but fundamentally it's the same. You have to develop that capacity. So training yourself to dealing with friction-full situations is not bad. Of course, you can still improve your workflow and you can still be more mindful about what you are doing, but at its core, you don't want to reach a state that is frictionless. You may want to reach a state where you don't have to decide what to do. Maybe you want to reach a state where you are decisive, but that's different from frictionless. Because decisive means that you just commit to a course of action right away. You are not just there paralyzed by all the possible options, but you still have to do the actual work. So there is that, folks, and I will close with this point. We can wait a few more minutes to go to the 2-hour mark. I think since I did all this, I might as well go to exactly 2 hours, and then I will close the video, and that will be it. So yeah, I really liked that chameleon. That was a nice little surprise there. There is another lizard in Cyprus, a large one. I forget now how it's called, but it looks like an iguana. And I think it's called something dragon. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool, right? And we have dragons here as well, so it's not just the Welsh who put it on their flag, right? Of course, I'm kidding. But the point is that we have these species, and it's always nice to see them. It's always nice to learn more about your surrounding environment, about the life all around. And it helps to understand what I said earlier, which is that you are just another form of life in this continuum of life. You are not special in that regard. You are not the real deal. Nobody cares. And you shouldn't care. And if you stop caring, then you are free to just live as an animal. You are free to just live the way everything in this world lives. For a little while. But it's an experience that has lightness to it. It's not burdened by wants, false wants, expectations. All these ideas we have that we never put to the test. Again, what I mentioned earlier, I think you can see that there is continuity to my thought. And what I said earlier is what I said later, and basically there are linkages between the two. And fundamentally, I'm talking about the same thing in different ways. That's all I had today for you folks. Let me switch to my camera. So there is almost a minute left before we reach the 2-hour mark. It's 1 hour, 58 minutes and 43 now. Let me switch to my camera now. It takes a second when I switch. It takes a second to capture my audio. So I will remain silent while I perform the switch. And now it's good. So it's 1 hour, 58 minutes and 60 seconds now. So 1 hour, 59 minutes. So yeah. Thank you for your attention. I don't know if you even watched this whole thing. I don't know if you even listened to everything I had to say. But in case you did, well, I hope you liked it. I really liked it. I really like this experience. I do it every day. And for me, this is really something important. For me, this is, as I said, it's something I wouldn't give up for anything. Like, I don't care what you incentivize me with. I would like to be, no, forget about it. This is where I am. This is where I belong. So 47 seconds. Let's wait for the 2-hour mark, folks, and we call it a day. And of course, I still have ways to go. It's not like I reached my hut. I still have a long way to go, but I think the 2-hour mark is a good place to call it a day, and we are past that. So, thank you for your attention, folks. Take care, and goodbye for now.